How's it, guys, and welcome to another episode of the PH Journals podcast. Well, the hunting season is just around the corner. I can almost feel it. I actually start hunting tomorrow. Will be my third client of this season so far, but it's just got such a good vibe around it, and just from a lot of the social media comments and stuff that I've been gathering, really there's a lot of people that are so excited to come out and experience South Africa like it's never been done before, because like I've been saying in past podcasts, it's never looked this good. In the past 12 to 15 years, in the past decade that I've actually been hunting, South Africa is really it's looking absolutely incredible. And my personal opinion, some wouldn't agree with me, but I personally think that the hard lockdown that we had last year maybe did a little bit of good for us, especially as far as the wildlife's concerned. So not all doom and gloom just yet. I'm pretty excited about the season to get going. But before we do, there's a couple of people I would like to say have a special mention. And first up, if you're coming over to South Africa on your next adventure and you want to partner with people that are going to look after your trophy, Splitting Image is the people to trust in. As far as professional hunting goes, you want to partner with the guys that are the best, and really just take a lot of stress off of you, because like I keep saying, your job as a professional hunter is not done until that animal's actually hanging on your wall. So if you want to and you need to partner with the best, Splitting Image, as far as the communication, the artistry, they do a whole bunch of things. There's just so many different ways now that I'm aware of that you can take your trophies back with you, and I'm super excited for the future with them. And I wouldn't want to trust in anyone else. So Splitting Image Taxidermy. Next up, of course, I've been using their camo all over the show. I'm very fortunate to be a part of their team, so I get to try out some cool things, especially the early season now in the warmer months. Trees and camo, they've been performing absolutely outstanding, and I've been saying it for some time now. South Africa has needed a really good camo line, and Trees and tickle the boxes. Then Maxxis Tires, a big shout out to them. I've been using the Maxxis Razor Mud Terrains, a mining application. They've performed outstandingly. I've had them now for 4.5 years and not registered, touch wood, one puncher. So I'm very pleased with them, and hopefully they'll hold out until the end of the season and be able to put on a new set once this is all done. And then last but not least, my very own e-commerce platform, or my e-commerce store, PH Toolbox. I've joined a little guest here, Cody. PH Toolbox. We started this journey in August, 28th of August last year, and for all the support I've had, I just want to say thank you to everybody, to all the pro staff guys. Thank you so much for putting in the work and the effort. It's been an incredible journey, and we're slowly but surely starting to tick all the boxes as becoming an essential outdoor sporting goods outdoor store. So I'm really excited about the future, and just can't wait to share my journey with you guys as it goes along. It's taken a lot of hard work and a lot of sacrifice, but I'm very pleased where we are in the past couple of months that we've been operating. So big shout out to PH Toolbox. Well, guys, in this week's episode, I'll be discussing between old and new Africa. It's something that I've been wanting to address for some time now. I've had a couple of guys mention it to me on social media feeds, and I just thought it would be a great idea just before the season gets started to actually mention and discuss old and new Africa. It's quite an interesting topic, and of course this is all my personal opinion. None of it is set in stone, but it really is an interesting one, especially with the younger generation coming through, and I'm pretty excited to get into it. So without further ado, let's have a chat. Well, guys, old and new Africa. Before we get started, I just wanted to mention, I know in a couple of podcasts back, I did mention that I was going to have a couple of guests on and stuff, but I've been so overwhelmed with a lot of questions, and feedback that have been passed through me through my social media networks that I've actually thought it brings on really cool discussions to be having. My whole idea of the Sunday discussion is to give my personal opinion across, and then thereafter have quite a few open discussions with a bunch of people through my various social media platforms, whether it be Facebook, YouTube, Instagram. And I must say the response has been overwhelmingly great. I would like to have a couple of guests, and as the season progresses, I'm sure I'll be having a couple of my clients that I've had on their safaris come onto the podcast and have a chat. But as it stands now, I really enjoy having these sort of discussions with you guys, and I really think that evolving. I don't want to try and burn out all my avenues, so I would like to have some guests on, and then some do open discussions as we're doing now. So, pretty interesting topic, old and new Africa. Well, for somebody that takes pride in professional hunting, and I really think it's an important part of the industry, if not the most important, and I'm saying this from a biased standpoint, but also one would say that a lot of the experience for South Africa and Africa alike is the people you mingle with. So a lot of the experiences that go back is not always just about the hunting, it's about the people you meet, it's about the opportunities you've had, and it's about the cultures you've indulged in. Now, the topic was brought up a couple of days ago, and I've seen it recently on a couple of the social media platforms that I actually follow. Old and new Africa. There's been a lot of discussions about whether people would like, there was one feed that I read, the guy would have liked to experience Africa like Roosevelt did, or some of the great elderly hunters. Now, the reason why it will never be like that again, and the reason why I feel that we need to start changing the mindset of the modern day hunter, to indulge in our experiences and stuff like that more of, because I think with Roosevelt and that sort of era, it was, how can I say, it was more personal, it was more quaint, it was more sort of like I'm not trying to find the word now, but anyway, I'll get into it. But sort of, it was more personal. There was a personal relationship, personal experience. There were no cell phones, there were no signal, there was not no TV or anything like that people were worrying about. The outside world was completely blocked off. So the experience from a personal standpoint was a lot greater, because there were no distractions, so it was just you and your professional hunter and a couple of trackers. So that's where it all ticked off, and that's where I think from that point of view, it number one, it brought back a whole different era to the hunting industry. So that's what I'm saying now, as a modern hunter coming into South Africa, indulge in people's presence and indulge in the cultures, the activities that go on, because we tend to lose that focus and more worry about our social media feeds. There was actually one guy, and it's so true, in camp we see it more and more often now, is when people come in and there's overseas hunters, they're always worried about the biggest, baddest kudu, or what's the Wi-Fi password. These are some of the first questions that actually get asked once they get in here. And the reason why is because they want to stay attached to the outside world. And it's a difficult thing to let go of. I know a lot of them coming over, they're business owners and all that sort of stuff, but you're over here for such a short period of time. I'm pretty sure nothing's going to happen too much on the outside world from what's going on here, for you to lose everything. So just take a couple of days, put your phone away, and really just enjoy the experience. From a professional hunting side of point, we tend to do the same. We tend to stay glued to our phones. We forever, if it's not on a radio, we forever on our phones trying to phone guys, make plans, and sort that sort of stuff out. So we always stay connected. We always stay involved in this little bubble that we've sort of created, and that's pretty much what it is. As a professional hunter, we've created this bubble of networking. In some sense it's a great thing, and in some sense it's a bad thing, because we tend to chase the social side of things. But yeah, and instead of just actually embracing and enjoying your client's presence, it's a difficult thing to balance, and it's a difficult thing to move forward with. But I really feel that paying more attention in the first the first 3 days are probably your most important. So paying really more attention to your client and making sure that everything from your side is done correctly, and you build that relationship. Often we say building relationships is part of the game, and often when guys leave here, they're not just friends, they become part of the family. And it's so true in so many ways, but professional hunters play such a key part of that. And if they're going to be switched off in those first 3 days, you're pretty much going to lose a connection, and a lot of the connection is built around experiences. So yeah, that's from a personal side, especially dealing with people and being able to communicate and that sort of stuff. That's what we've got to keep a lookout for, and that's what we've got to keep an eye out for. Really, guys, just embracing those first 3 days as a connection part. And then next point that I want to address is experience. So like the guy said, with Roosevelt and all of them, they had the experience of carrying their own buffalo miles and miles and miles across swamplands or across grasslands, and fighting off lions that want to come and eat, and just some of the stories that I've read. The thing with that is that those experiences are still there. It just depends who you partner with. For myself, we hunt here in the Eastern Cape in South Africa, and just our largest hunting concession is probably about 10,500 hectares. I'm not 100% sure how many acres that is. It's probably well over 20,000 acres, I'm guessing. But you can still embracing the experience in that lodge, in that concession, as much as what anyone else would out in Africa. And a lot of people would disagree with me, but our generation and the generation just before us, we've created this this feeling, this false idea of hunting. Because a lot of us, we get caught up between the bucky hunters and the guys that actually do walk and stalk and really work their butts off or asses off to get their animals. And this is where my honesty takes over, is that there's a lot of PHs in our industry that shoot from the bucky and that don't do things as ethically as what they should be. And let's face facts, anybody that's willing to not put in the effort on their animals and stuff, we can't really call it a hunt. I completely understand when opportunities come up, you need to take them when they are, because opportunities in Africa are few and far between. But just remember, guys, ethical hunting is extremely important, not only just for yourself as a personal professional hunter, but as far as moving the industry forward goes. So getting back to the whole point is, why is it impossible for us to make sure that we can shoot our kudu? I mean, there's been some days that I've had to pack out an eland for 7.5 hours. Not because I'm poorly planned for that day, but it's just because that's what the situation ensured, and making sure that we're packing these animals out for the good of the ranch is probably on our priority list. So that's just an experience in your own. I mean, yesterday I was very fortunate to join a friend of mine on his personal farm, where I've managed to acquire the hunting rights. And I was very fortunate to experience what his farm had to offer. And he came and showed me, I don't know what you would call it, but it's a fossil, like a fossil graveyard. And in that moment, I'm standing there and I'm witnessing these fossils, which, you know, they've sent a couple of samples away to figure out what they actually are, but could possibly be there from the dinosaurs. And I'm standing there and I'm like, how is this not... At that point in my life, for those 5 minutes that I was there, that was the most important, most unbelievable thing I've ever seen in my life, and so unreal, because, you know, I can watch guys digging fossils out on National Geographic probably every single day of my life, but to be a part of this whole networking of geological artifacts, it's incredible. I mean, it's to stand there and hold a fossil in your hand is one thing, but to actually see how this whole thing came about is it really is, it's something special. And that's what I talk about as far as experience, you know. I understand it's not as cool as, you know, hunting a lion with a Messiah coat, or warding off hyenas as they're trying to bite your carcasses as you're dragging it through the bush and that sort of stuff. I understand that, but the experience is different, and that's what people need to understand. People need to understand that the olden ways of doing things had moving forward. We had to move forward from that point. Otherwise, we were going to be stuck in this false sense of industry, something that was never going to be sustainable. Because the way Roosevelt and them did it was completely... Then it was sustainable, but times have moved, so we've had to move with times for it to be sustainable. Otherwise, the whole industry as we know it would fall to pieces. So, yeah, for me, the next part was obviously the experience. I mean, experience can come in so many different ways. I mean, there's just some of the things that we've done that have really meant a lot to me. Camping out in the mountains, doing horseback safaris, going to drop books off at a school in need, going to see fossil zones, going to see Bushman paintings, that sort of stuff. That's experience, and that's as a PH and as a professional hunter, that's what you need to attract your clients to, because they're going to have, in the old Africa, they would have had those experiences in Tanzania, but in a completely different way. Like I mentioned, a couple of them with hyenas chasing your carcasses. You've got to, hang your carcasses up in the tree. You've got to make your own camp for the night. Bakkies or vehicles breaking down in the bush, walking 15 kilometers. There's a different experience, and it's got to be a different experience. And it's up to us to create those experiences. They're not just going to do them themselves in both situations, old and new Africa. And the reason why I refer to old and new Africa is a lot of the northern countries, Tanzania, Zimbabwe, I'm not 100% sure too much about Namibia, but the further north you go, Ethiopia, Congo, Cameroon and that sort of stuff, is still very much old, still very much rural, still very much rugged and rough. And down here in the southern side of things is more modern, more industry related, or not, I wasn't say industry related, but more modern, more keeping up with the times, that sort of stuff. So as far as those two avenues are done, they separated. That's new, that's old. And there are a couple of camps that I know that are out there that do it completely off the grid, and but it's just, they're few and far between. Next up is animals. So this is a difficult one for me, because the animals are unique in so many different ways, and I would never want to try and replicate a lesser kudu hunt in South Africa. For me, I think the lesser kudu needs respect in its area and its side of things. and to try and replicate that experience down here, it's a little bit difficult. So don't ever try and replicate experiences of animals from up north to down south, because we're not going to get that close. I know there are a few ranches, especially here and mostly in Texas, that do replicate those, do have those sort of species, but it's not the same hunt. I mean, you can hunt a bongo in Texas, but it's not, don't tell me it's the same as hunting a bongo in Cameroon, you know what I mean? So for me, obviously the main point around about any sort of hunting adventure is, of course, the animals, and to give them the utmost respect. I think hunting them in their own environments, in their own conditions, is just as rewarding as the experience and all that sort of stuff. But remember, that's not always the be all and end all of every safari. That's an very extremely important aspect. But everybody looks at a safari from a basket point of view. So how their whole experience has been, from a couple of your personal experience and your animals. And now going into the next topics. So everybody looks at a safari from that sort of perspective, and then we can sort of get a glimpse of what would be better for you and I. For you personally, what sort of hunt would you like to do? Would you like to do a more traditional olden day African hunt, or would you like to stick with the times and move forward with the more southern side of things? So, which leads me into the next one, and I've put it under the heading care, but it's more about after the shot service. Are your trophies getting handled the best way possible? Because whether we like it or not, that's also one of the most important aspects of any sort of safari. So are they getting handled with care? Is your health safe out there? Have you guys taken the correct medication for malaria and all that sort of stuff? And then of course travel. How long do you want to be in the air? How long do you want to be on the ground? How much time do you have? And yeah, those are pretty much the basics. Because you must remember, guys, once you get up north, look, this podcast, I don't want it to come along and me slating the north. I would love, personal opinion, I would love to still experience a lot of what I have already up north. I really would honestly like to go and spend a couple of months up there once a year, just experiencing. I don't even have to hunt, just experiencing what's going on up there, because I think it's a completely different thing, and it's very difficult for me to explain because I'm mainly based down south. But it really is, and I know I've been more on the south side for this discussion as what I have with the north, but that's purely just based on personal interactions that I've had from different side of the camps. So yeah, guys, you guys must remember, hunting up north, it's long hours traveling. It really is. I mean, sometimes you've got to charter flights into camp, which makes it a little bit easy. It's a layover that takes a bit of time, and then obviously the buggy rides during to and from hunting areas, that takes a bit of time as well, and the vehicles aren't always the most reliable. So keep those things in mind. That's between 15 and 20 days hunting if you want to get a really good experience in South Africa. A lot different. We can bundle everything up for you between 7 and 10 days, ideally on an ideal situation. So it makes for really different, I don't like classes. I don't like saying classes. I just like saying it makes for different groups of people. And just keep that in mind. Then before we start tapping this all off, is costs. Now, South African costing is obviously, there's a lot of outfitters that aren't market related for various different reasons. But up north, you pretty much, from what I've experienced, there's a lot of hidden costs. There's a lot of trophy fees that you got to buy, and yeah, so from up north, there's a lot of hidden costs. There's trophy fees, there's import fees, there's import permits, there's export permits you got to pay for. There's then there's obviously all the crating and freighting that's got to go out of camp, and then your trophies get to the taxidermy, and then it's dipping and packing, and then it's, there's a whole list of things. Whereas, in South Africa, almost probably about 90% of the outfitters work this way. Come in, no hidden costs. What you see on the price list is what you get. And then obviously your shipping and crating and your taxidermy costs are all separate to what the outfitter supplies, and that's where the affordability comes in from a South African perspective, South African and Namibian side of things. It's really important to keep these things in mind, because with today's economy, especially now that we're not 100% sure what Biden's going to be doing, and you really want to get out and come and hunt, I would really suggest South Africa as a preferred situation. There's a lot of guys that will disagree with me, but I'm standing true to myself here, because it's an extremely expensive experience up north. And don't get me wrong, it will come around for the better, and I promise you that up north hunting concessions will be just as good as what they were. But right now, the more affordable side of things is definitely down south, and it's become extremely important part of our industry is correct pricing and moving forward with the times, making sure that people are not screwed over. Not saying that the north do that, just saying that it's unfortunate up north you're obligated to all these different fees, hidden fees that go along with the thing. So from that sort of side of things, that's pretty much the costing of the north and south. So guys, in a nutshell, if we had to look at this thing from an outside perspective, Africa as a whole is an incredible place to experience, and in an ideal world, I'm pretty sure there's a lot of us that are out there that would say I would like to experience South Africa, and I would like to experience the old Africa. In an ideal world, not everybody can. So to the guys that can't, I'm appealing to you to do a bit of homework and really just make sure and highlight that your experience is the most important thing of any sort of safari. The animals can come later. And trust me, no matter where, most of the guys that you hunt with in South Africa would not like to get you any sort of mediocre animals or anything like that. So that will all fall into place, but really just highlight experience, because what that does is it puts the professional and the outfitter on their toes to supply an experience that is unforgettable. With an unforgettable experience, a budget that can fit pretty much most people in the United States and Europe alike, South Africa and Africa have got to be seen as two different points of entry into this hunting concessions side of things that we call old and new Africa. And I would highly suggest that coming out in the next year and a half to either one of them, whichever you prefer, do it now rather than later, because let me tell you something, Africa is an incredible place to experience. Sorry, we've got some guests here in the podcasting studio of my little bone over here, which is pretty cool. So pretty pleased to have a bit of noise around, but anyway, so really appreciate everything, and just highlight your experiences. Experiences are an important part of this network and this industry that we're fighting so hard to keep, because the minute you guys can have good experiences, you're always going to want to come back to Africa. A lot of guys say that Africa is not a place you visit once, you visit many times, and you call it your second home, and I've seen it happen so many times before. So guys, remember 3 main things. First thing, the first 3 days of any sort of safari is so important and crucial to develop personal experiences and to develop relationships and bonds between yourself, the client, and the professional hunter. Number 2 is experiences. Take in every little bit that you can. Bushman paintings, fossils if you're lucky enough to find, cultures, different religions and all that sort of stuff. Take it in and absorb it and be a part of it, because it's a very special place to do this all in. And then last but not least, number 3 is embrace in Africa. Become part of us, become one with us, and yeah, communication is key. And I see a very, very bright future for my wonderful country and my wonderful continent. We're all one, and I see it that way. And we're very fortunate to have 2 different hunting experiences. So guys, well, that brings an end to this podcast. I hope I've answered a couple of questions, and I really look forward to getting the discussion going. So please don't feel bad in DMing me on Instagram or any one of my social media platforms, because I really enjoy the discussions, whether they're positive or negative. It's always nice to engage and see where I can either better myself or improve my knowledge of something that I'm not 100% sure of. Remember, all these views that I've had in this podcast and podcasts before, all my personal experiences and personal opinions, so none of them are fact. There are a couple there that are, but yeah. But anyway, from myself, Dylan Love, and the PH Journals team, I just want to say a very big thank you to everyone that supported me through this incredible journey. It really has been. It's been very, very special, and we're getting a lot of activity going, and I'm so stoked to be a part of it. And yeah, just once again, thank you to everybody. If you haven't yet, hit the subscribe button, turn on the notifications so that we can notify you when my next podcast is up. And yeah, feel free to hit anything in the comments, whether it be negative or good. I would always like to engage with you guys, but do it with an open mind, because we're going to have there might be a few heated discussions, but as long as we keep an open mind, I'm sure we can embrace one another's opinions. So yeah, it's been an incredible journey. Once again, thank you to everybody. I look forward to sharing more exciting moments with you as I start hunting tomorrow, so can't wait to do that. But until then, have a wonderful Sunday. Stay blessed, stay safe, stay humble, and happy hunting. We'll catch up with you guys soon. Cheers.